Ever wonder what it really takes to, you know, get meat on your table?
It's something most people don't think about much.
Yeah. We're doing a deep dive into a career path that's, well, let's just say it's got some misconceptions surrounding it. The world of a slaughterer.
And it's interesting. We're using RoleCatcher as our kind of our guide for this.
They're great.
They are. They're like this, almost like a one-stop shop if you're, thinking about different careers. They have info on jobs, skills, all sorts of career paths, and they have a lot on this one.
Yeah, and I think most people, when they think about slaughterhouses, maybe they've seen a documentary or something, it's not the most pleasant picture.
Yeah, not really a picnic rack.
But RoleCatcher, they really dig into, like, the reality. It's a lot more complex than I think a lot of us probably expect.
Totally. Like, RoleCatcher really highlights how this job is a key part of the food supply chain. It's not just like the actual, I don't know, physical part of getting meat.
Right.
It's about making sure it's safe, good quality, for all of us.
Right. Exactly. And it's actually, like, surprisingly technical. RoleCatcher mentions needing to know animal anatomy,
Oh, yeah.
different butchery techniques,
Right, like very specific.
which, to be honest, I had, like, zero clue about.
Me neither.
Mm.
Before I, read all this.
This deep dive has been, like, eye-opening.
It really has.
So tell me more about that. Like, what are some of those specifics?
Okay, so they have this great example about maintaining the meat quality. Slaughterers have to be really, really precise with how they, handle the animal
I bet.
and the carcass. Like there's this thing called dressing. It's where they take the hide off, but it has to be done in a way that, keeps things, well, clean,
I see.
minimizes contamination.
Makes sense.
And like to do that, you need to know the animal's anatomy inside and out. And it takes, it's years of practice to get weed.
Wow. That's almost like surgical in a way.
Right. It's
Yeah.
not what you'd expect.
And RoleCatcher, they said slaughterers need to know all the different cuts of meat too, right?
Yeah, totally. Because different cuts, they need different techniques.
Oh, that makes sense.
It's not like one size fits all. It's very detail oriented.
Wow. So we've got the skills, but then there's the environment, which is probably not for everybody.
Yeah, you got to have like the stomach for it.
Let's be real.
It's a lot.
It's a physically demanding job.
Mm.
RoleCatcher talks about, long hours,
Yeah, long.
heavy lifting. It takes a certain kind of person to sort of handle that every single day.
Absolutely. It's intense, but you know what surprised me? When I was, reading through RoleCatchers, all their stuff,
Yeah.
they really emphasize safety and hygiene,
Oh, interesting.
like a lot. They made it really clear that these places, they have to follow like super strict rules. It's all about keeping the workers safe and making sure the food is safe to, eat.
Right, which makes sense,
Yeah.
but, you don't always hear that part of it.
Exactly. You get caught up in, the other stuff.
It's easy to picture it a certain way.
Yeah. But there are regulations for a reason, and they're taken very seriously.
That's good to know.
And you know what else RoleCatcher mentioned?
What's that?
It's not just the physical stuff. Like, they highlight that you need those softer skills, too.
Like what?
You got to be detail-oriented, big time, be able to work well under pressure, and you got to be a team player.
Oh, yeah, I bet.
Like, you can't do this alone. All those things are super important for keeping things running smoothly and safely.
It's really fascinating how it all comes together. You've got the physical demands, but then you need that mental strength, too. And speaking of mental strength, what about the emotional side of it? Because, RoleCatcher, they mentioned some of the challenges, right? It's got to be tough, right?
Yeah, no sugarcoating it. It's not easy.
What kinds of things did RoleCatcher say?
Well, they said slaughterers deal with a lot just, by the nature of the job.
Being around.
Exactly. Live animals, processing the meat. It's a lot to handle emotionally. It takes real resilience to be around that all the time and not have it get to you.
Yeah, I can only imagine.
But they did say there are ways to build up that resilience.
Like, how do you even start with that?
Well, they really highlighted support systems.
Yeah.
Like having people to talk to, both at work and outside of work, people who get it, people who understand the kind of pressure you're under.
It's got to be different than just, like, a regular 9 to 5.
Right, exactly. It's not just about being physically tough, it's mental and emotional too.
So someone's listening to this and they think, maybe this IS for me. Where do they even start?
Good question. RoleCatcher, they said it usually begins with entry-level positions.
Makes sense.
You got to learn the ropes, assist the more experienced slaughterers.
Get your feet wet.
Yeah, exactly. see how it all works. And they mentioned a lot of slaughterers, they'll start by like mastering one specific cut or task and then move on from there.
So it's like a building block kind of thing.
Yeah, you got it. You build up your skills over time.
And then what? You move up.
You got it. More experience, and you can get promoted, become a junior slaughterer, and eventually, senior slaughterer.
Okay, and those sound pretty self-explanatory, but what's the actual difference?
Well, RoleCatcher gave some cool details about that.
Okay, I'm ready. Lay it on me.
All right, so as you get more experience under your belt, you might start supervising others, training new hires, maybe even managing like a whole section of the processing plant. There's definitely room for leadership in this line of work.
Okay, so you're not just like stuck in the same role forever.
Not at all. And it really goes against that idea some people have about these jobs being dead end.
Yeah, it's like I don't know, a factory job with no future or something.
Yeah. And RoleCatcher even talked about specialization.
Specialization, okay. What does that mean, like, in this context?
So they said, for example, you could become like the expert on a specific type of livestock. Or you could focus on one part of the process, really get to know it inside and out.
Like what? Give me an example.
They said, like, you could be the quality control guru.
Oh, okay.
Or maybe you're the equipment master, those machines like the back of your hand.
So there's all these ways to kind of like niche down, become a real specialist.
Yeah, exactly. And it's cool, right? It really changes how you think about the job.
100%. I'm actually like really surprised by all of this in a good way. It's way more than I thought it was.
Me too. And you know what else? RoleCatcher didn't stop at just like the traditional stuff. They talked about technology and how it's shaking things up in the industry.
Okay, now that is interesting. I'm kind of a tech nerd, so tell me more about this.
Yeah.
They talk about AI-powered tools.
Yeah. It's not just about like, sharp knives anymore.
Wild.
RoleCatcher was saying like technology is changing everything. Automating stuff, efficiency, even hygiene. Like way more than you'd think.
Did they have like specific examples? How is it actually being used?
Oh yeah, for sure. They were saying some places use AI to like monitor the animals.
Really?
Keep track of their health, make sure they're, well, treated ethically, which also, by the way, leads to better meat.
Interesting.
And get this, they even talked about robots. Robots that help with the, really physical parts of the job.
Wow. Robots in the slaughterhouse. I'm picturing like a sci-fi movie or something.
Right. But it makes sense.
Totally. Everything's going high-tech these days.
Exactly. And RoleCatcher made this point, like, all this new technology, it's creating new jobs.
Oh, how so?
It's not just about being a slaughterer anymore. They need technicians, people who understand data, all those who can work with these, like, really advanced systems.
So it's like a whole new branch of the career path. I never would have thought of that.
Right. Eye-opening.
So, okay, we've covered a lot. Skills, the physical stuff, the mental toughness, now this whole tech angle. It's clear, being a slaughterer, it's not what most people think. What's, like, the biggest takeaway for someone listening who's maybe thinking, maybe this IS for me?
Honestly, I think it's keep an open mind.
Yeah.
RoleCatcher, they do a great job showing how this job, it's a skilled trade. It's got a lot to offer, job security, you can move up, and you're part of something, really important. We got to eat, but you got to know what you're getting into.
The good and the tough parts.
Exactly.
And that's what's cool about these deep dives.
Yeah.
We get to look closer, challenge what we think we know about different jobs. Maybe even find some hidden gems out there.
100%. Who knows? Maybe this got you thinking about this career path, maybe a totally different one. Either way, keep learning, keep exploring, Always be open to new stuff.
Couldn't have said it better myself. So that's it for this deep dive. Until next time, keep those brains engaged. And remember, that dream job, it's out there. Thanks for listening.